What's cracking like a Big Smack and Empleh, help me spell backwards here, and in today's video, this is a full lore video and breakdown of the story for Sker Ritual. Background story included, including the game Made of Sker. Now that being said, there is going to be some disclaimers here I need to make. First of all, spoiler warning ahead for Sker Ritual and Made of Sker. If you have not played either game, I recommend playing those games first unless you just don't care and just want to hear the story through a video. I'm glad to be here for that. Next, I want to say that this video took a lot of work to put together and a lot of research and writing. My hand is still numb. So if you guys enjoy, or if it helps you understand the story in any way, shape, or form, if you could consider subscribing, I'd greatly appreciate it, as it helps me in the algorithm and just helps me out in general. Also, turn those post notifications on. I'd appreciate it. With the bell. That'd be great. Also, another quick disclaimer before the video starts. I know I'm taking up a minute of your time, I'm sorry. But another quick disclaimer before the video starts is that I want to warn you that if I miss anything, please feel free to leave it in the comments down below. I tried to cover every single thing I could from both games, including the background stories. I've read every note in both games. I've tried to cover the details that I think are most important here. If I've missed anything that you view as important, please feel free to leave it in the comments down below. That being said, let's get right into the video. Sometime in the 1800s, Jebediah Williams becomes the owner of the Sker Hotel. During this time, he has two sons, Isaac and Abraham. Isaac marries a woman named Prudence at some point, and they had a daughter named Elizabeth. Prudence was a famous singer, and Liz shared her talent in singing. Prudence and Elizabeth were completely unaware of this, but Jebediah, Abraham, and Isaac would loot and smuggle shipwrecks that would land on the island, as during the time, it was legal to loot ships as long as they crashed on your lands. And they used to lure ships using beacons. Instead of a lighthouse, the ship would see the beacon and think it's a lighthouse and go to it. On February 3rd of 1874, a huge ship by the name of the HMS Providence would crash on Sker Island at Sker Point. Much like he did with all the other shipwrecks they would loot and cause, Jebediah ordered the flames to be extinguished so that he can loot it, the flames of the shipwreck. They moved what was left of the remains to a cavern beneath Sker Point, and a week later, on February 10th, the men find a creature on the ship that's in terrible shape, and it kept trying to sing. It had an effect on Jebediah's men. Isaac states in his journals that Jebediah is worried. Jebediah's journal says he is aware of how dangerous its singing is, and he is worried specifically because he thinks he knows what the creature is. He believes it to be one of the three sirens of Greek mythology, daughters of the river god, and he believes it is Pessinel. Sirens were first brought up in the Odyssey, which is the story of Odysseus coming home from the Trojan War. Sirens use the ability they have to sing a harmony, and this melody and harmony attracts nearby sailors to the island where they crash their ships, never to be seen again. Isaac was intrigued by the creature, and he learned it would sing its song to lure unsuspecting prey to it. A few days later, Jebediah and Isaac talked, and they started learning if and how they can harness the creature's power. First, they attempted chaining the creature to Sker Point, with the idea being that they would use it singing to lure more ships that they could then crash and loot, as they'd always been doing, instead of using the beacons. And then in 1875, Jebediah became the leader of a cult called the Quiet Ones. Their goal? Simple. Worship the creature, harness its power. A ritual for new followers would take place, where they'd pour something on the follower's head, and then they would set them on fire. Then they would expose them to the song by having them listen to the sirens sing. After this, they would shield them with a mask that they called the Garment of the Quiet Ones. Jebediah writes a letter to the cult members saying that Prudence has volunteered for position of priestess in the cult. He says Prudence can learn the creature's song to gain its power. At some point, Jebediah dies and leaves Isaac in charge of Sker Hotel. Hoping to make the hotel successful again as it started to lose traction and wasn't nearly as successful, Isaac and Abraham installed murder rooms where they would kill their guests at the hotel and feed them to the creature to get her to sing her song and use her power for whatever they wanted to and whenever they needed it. Sometime after this, Isaac got Prudence to record a take of the song since she is a well-known famous singer. The hotel became less popular over time, and Isaac got mad at Abraham because he was still continuing to kill guests, and it brought more bad attention to the hotel in a bad way. In September of 1894, Prudence dies at the age of 42, forcing the Williams family to officially close Sker Hotel for good. Abraham and Isaac are mad about this, and they try to make Elizabeth sing to lure more ships, as her mother once did. so they can get enough money to reopen Sker Hotel. She refused after finding Jebediah's diary and learning what her mother did and what they did. They were extremely angry with her because they needed the money to reopen the hotel, so Isaac found out how to convert the recording of Prudence singing into a brass cylinder, and then split it into 4 cylinders. Each cylinder had a picture of a character from Greek mythology on it. One was the Cerberus cylinder, the next was the Hero cylinder, then Siren cylinder, and finally the Medusa cylinder. Isaac began to experiment by putting victims into chairs. These victims would be staff members or oftentimes guests. He would put them into the chairs and he would play the cylinders right into their ears to see what they would do. On October 4th, 1897, Isaac wrote in his journal that he found that the songs would cause the victims to be compliant after multiple times of being experimented on in the chair. Before dying, Prudence left a letter to Liz saying to leave Sker Hotel if she ever got the chance. So Elizabeth wrote lyrics of a counter song that had 4 of the best composers in the country write a counter song to the 4 cylinders. So each of the 4 cylinders would have one composer that is one of the best composers in the country write a counter to one of the 4 cylinders. Matilda Norton, Arthur Morris, Henry Hughes, and Thomas Evans. Isaac announced a grand reopening of the hotel and experimented on the staff with the song by Prudence. On October 27th, 2 of the composers show up at the hotel with the sheet music for the counter song. Elizabeth sings the song for Isaac at rehearsal for the staff to try and stop him, but by singing her counter song, she messed up and failed because it wasn't finished. So when the unfinished counter song combined with the siren song itself, the magic combined to cause everyone in the hotel to go insane. Staff started screaming and attacking each other. Isaac started bleeding from his ears and scribbling on the staircase with his own blood. She hid in the attic and attempted to free the creature after a while to end everything, but she heard Abraham downstairs. And guests started arriving at the hotel, but she couldn't do anything to get rid of them or warn them. After this, one of the other composers shows up, Henry Hughes. As for the other composers, Thomas Evans has not yet arrived, but the other 3 composers, Matilda Norton, gets murdered. She's strapped to a chair in game, and that's how you find her body, with no head. Arthur gets experimented on to the point of death. As for Thomas Williams, him and Elizabeth were going to run away together at one point. They were actually lovers, and they wanted to get married, but her father, Isaac, would not allow this and locked her away in the hotel. So she sends him a letter, just like she did the other 3 composers, asking for help after everything had gone wrong. Whenever the counter song didn't go right, Thomas Evans was on the train to Sker Island in South Wales. Thomas shows up to Sker Island at the Sker Island train station. For those of you who don't know, this might be known as Sewers of the Dead. The hotel gates are locked whenever he gets up to them, and he sees a spirit on his way in at a lake. He enters the hotel and hears singing coming from somewhere, but he doesn't know where. The hotel phone rings, and it's Elizabeth. She tells Thomas that she is locked in the attic, hiding from her dad and uncle and the hotel staff. Elizabeth then tells Thomas he needs to find the 4 brass cylinders. These cylinders emit a musical melody that keep everyone controlled by the darkness. At the top of the stairs in the Grand Hall contains a grand harmonium. When all 4 cylinders are placed in it and played at once, the darkness will get defeated, supposedly, as long as she's playing her countersong at the same time. Thomas hears a man crying for help behind a door while looking for one of the cylinders. This man is Henry Hughes. Thomas tries to help the man, but he can't break the door down, and footsteps are heard after this. After that, the man gets attacked. You hear him brutally getting beat behind the door. Thomas enters the chapel and seeks the same spirit he saw at the lake. Finds the Cerberus cylinder behind one of the chairs that was used to experiment on people, and then after that he restores power and takes the elevator where he sees a person getting smashed through the window once he gets down to the basement. The man was smashed through the window by Abraham Williams. After this, Thomas bumps into a quiet one. He has to escape the quiet one and make his way outside of the hotel where he sees a graveyard where he bumps into the grave of Prudence Williams. Isaac Williams catches Thomas and he attacks him. Thomas falls through a grave into tunnels and sees the spirit again. Thomas finds a mine into the tunnels that he uses to get back to the surface when he encounters a church with a ritual taking place. Isaac pours something on the man's face, as the ritual would suggest, and then Thomas retreats through a door. He ends up in a garden maze, which has patrolling quiet ones, and it leads to a phone where Elizabeth calls him and warns him if he gets caught that the ritual will be his fate as well. During this entire process, Thomas has also been seeing a dog a lot. He's seen him 3 times now, specifically by this point, and he brings that up to Elizabeth, and Elizabeth tells him that the dog is Calliope, her mother's dog. After this, Liz says that she's happy that Calliope lived because Abraham, her uncle, could have killed it. He hated the dog. Thomas sees the dog caught in a bear trap after this, and he saves the dog. He finds another cylinder on Sker Point, and then heads to a laboratory. In the laboratory, Thomas finds a device called a phonic modulator, which can be used as a weapon against the quiet ones from what it looks like on the plans on the wall. It emits a high-pitched frequency which stuns the quiet ones. Then, Thomas re-enters the hotel, and he goes to the storage room, and then to the hotel bar, where he speaks to Elizabeth on the phone again. She doesn't know where the other cylinders are, but she assumes they're on the first and second floor. Thomas unlocks a hidden ladder to the first floor, where Liz warns that the first floor is rigged with traps. Thomas has to find 4 pieces to the broken Williams family crest, unlock the elevator, and take it to the second floor. Liz calls again once on the second floor, and warns Thomas that Abraham patrols the second floor. The key to the attic is on the second floor, but whenever he gets there, to the key, Abraham smashes through the wall and steals the key. Abraham then chases Thomas until Thomas sees a contraption that he uses to stun Abraham and takes the key back from him. He then finds a siren cylinder in Isaac's room, and then he gets to the attic and sees a woman singing, but the woman turns out to not be Elizabeth, and he gets attacked by Isaac instead. Isaac throws Thomas down a garbage chute, and it ends up taking him to the basement. The phonic modulator breaks, and he then walks around until he bumps into a prison in the basement and finds the Medusa cylinder. But then Thomas gets attacked by Isaac again. After this, they prepare him for a ritual, but he gets saved by Calliope, Prudence's dog. He escapes to an underground passage which leads to a hotel room where Isaac is yet again there, and he's playing the piano. He sneaks past Isaac to a cage in the room and inserts a music locket, which knocks out Isaac. He goes to the Grand Hall and meets with Elizabeth at the Grand Harmonium. She is suspiciously eager to get the cylinders from Thomas. Now, this is where I have to warn you there are 2 endings. The good ending and the bad ending. To briefly sum up the good ending is where he doesn't trust her, keeps the 4 cylinders, and then uses them on the Grand Harmonium, and she snaps out of it and sings the counter song. Completed, and everything's saved. However, the issue is that Sker Ritual takes place after the bad ending. See, this is not technically a direct sequel to Made of Sker. It is a direct sequel to the bad ending of Made of Sker. So that's what we're going to focus on more here today. The bad ending is that Thomas gives Elizabeth the cylinders. She places them in the Grand Harmonium after laughing maniacally, and they go down through the floor underground, where the creature named the Siren is hanging in a cage. The Siren song plays as Thomas watches the Williams family burn the creature alive while stabbing it. Elizabeth becomes overcome by the darkness, and it seems as if she's been overcome the entire time and has been playing Thomas. After this, Thomas becomes a quiet one, after she gives him a sinister smile. A year later, after these events take place, on September 4th of 1898, Elizabeth's diary states that her daughter, Arianwen, is born. She is born with a specific purpose. In 1901, we learn that her daughter Arianwen has her father's eyes and is advancing rather quickly for a child. Then, in 1904, on September 10th, Elizabeth's diary states that Arianwen questions Elizabeth quite a lot. Elizabeth continues experiments, which means that she's been experimenting on things, specifically people. On September 19th of 1908, 4 years later, Arianwen's diary, sorry if I'm butchering that name by the way, or Arianwen? I'll say Arianwen. Arianwen's diary states that Arianwen begs to go somewhere, but Elizabeth won't let her go. Arianwen listens to the staff with the boats all night, meaning they're clearly still doing the shipwrecks. Elizabeth wants Arianwen to sing the siren song and to learn it, as she has inherited her mom's and grandmother's ability to sing. On December 9th of 1908, Elizabeth's diary states that Liz loses 39 people or things to a creature. She is trying to capture specific creatures that she wants to experiment on. In 1909, on April 2nd, Elizabeth's diary states that Elizabeth brought Arianwen for a specific purpose and has a plan. Elizabeth's plan for Arwen is to have Arwen become the new siren, the new person to sing the siren song to continue the family legacy. On November 6th of 1910, Elizabeth gives Arwen lessons on how to sing the siren song. She wants the family legacy to continue. On January 23rd of 1911, Arwen's diary states that Arwen is upset and does not want to watch terrifying monsters get experimented on by her mother. On March 20th of 1911, Elizabeth's diary states that Arwen does what she's asked and does it well, but she continues to question her mother on specific details about their past and their family's life and what they're really doing. Elizabeth wants to end the rebellious behavior and questioning before Arwen does something that she'll quote-unquote regret. On April 22nd of 1911, Arwen's diary states that Isaac invented and designed the stem shot elixirs to increase staff efficiency and enhance their performance, such as the elixir of life, fast hands, stallion juice, and shock and load, to name a few. On December 13th of 1912, the stranger arrives at the hotel. He is allowed to stay, and no sacrifices must be made for progress, according to Elizabeth's diary. On December 14th of 1912, a day later, Arwen states that experiments with the creatures are going well and are used for human manipulation. On December 15th, a day after that, Elizabeth's diary states that the snow conditions are too dangerous to travel in, so the stranger must stay another night, which she's quite happy about, as the stranger is apparently proven to be quite useful. The stranger suggests using radios to communicate via radio to all four corners of the world, to then play the siren song and have the entire world be under control of the Williams family thanks to the power of the siren song. On December 16th, the day after that, Arwen states that the Laughing Policeman salesman, who comes from a company called the Laughing Policeman, invented the Thunderbolt, Howler, Plague, and Sword, as well as the Ammo Blammo machine and the Supercharger machine. He arrived at the hotel specifically to sell to Elizabeth, but also the Williams family as a whole, as he has new weapons to sell. On February 22nd of 1913, Arwen begins looking around behind her mother's back for info on who her father is. On June 14th of 1913, Elizabeth's diary states that she found Arwen's diary. She learned what she's been doing, and she's not happy about it, but she's gonna let it go because she's a little girl. On December 19th of 1913, the stranger claims to move technological advancements to further the family plans. On May 11th of 1914, Arwen doesn't understand the song, but she grows tired of being who her mother wants her to be, so she's starting to become a bit more rebellious. She's looking behind her mother's back now, and her mother doesn't like it, but she knows about it. But on top of that, she's not wanting to be who her mother wants her to be. On July 2nd of 1914, Arwen is snooping into the truth of the family, and Elizabeth tries to get her to stop looking because she's getting tired of the rebellious nature, but she keeps pushing. On July 3rd, a day later, Arwen's diary says that Elizabeth told Arwen who Thomas was, but there's a twist. See, Elizabeth didn't tell her daughter that Thomas was actually her father. So Arwen, on July 8th of 1914, discovers who Thomas was, finds out that he was actually her father, and is disgusted after she finds out what they did to him, and feels betrayed for being lied to by her mother and starts to grow hatred for her mother. On August 5th of 1914, Arwen's diary states that Arwen finds the letter Elizabeth wrote to Thomas asking for help, and that she wasn't always like this, and that something had to have changed her. She learns what the song she has been learning is really for, and she also learns of the counter song and states it could be of some use. On September 18th of 1914, Elizabeth's diary states that she must keep Arwen on Sker Island for her own good, as she's growing too weary and too knowledgeable on the truth. Some of the creatures her mother had been experimenting on, Elizabeth had been making blaze slingers, kilowatts, banshees, and more, such as mutated rats known as the King of the Rats, for example. At some point in the near future, Arwen is now a grown adult, and she spends her time as an adult trying to stop her family. She employs the help of a stranger, and that stranger and her together go to stop and shut down the radio towers that they're trying to use to broadcast a signal to the rest of the world. Doing this, you end up killing Isaac and Abraham, and at the end of this all, when you finally try to shut down the last radio tower, you have to fight Elizabeth. It's unknown whether she lives or dies, but as of right now, the day is saved, and that is the end of the story for now. If any more new updates come, I will let you know, but for now, that's pretty much it. If I've missed anything important, let me know, but I'm pretty sure that I got most of the important details. If this video has helped you better understand the lore, or you just enjoyed listening to it, I appreciate you watching it all the way through. Please subscribe. It took a lot of work and a lot of research and writing and playing the games to get to, so I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe. A lot of this is really just reading notes that were in the game, but I tried to keep it down to the important parts so that it could be less time consuming. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Please consider subscribing. Have a great day, and I hope that you enjoy the game and play it.